Imagine a man who, at 75 years old, abandoned everything, his homeland, his house, his security, to follow the voice of an invisible God. This man not only became one of the most important figures in history, but also the eternal symbol of faith. But do you know the complete story of Abraham? Do you know his mistakes, his fears, his human failures? The wife he pretended was his sister? The son who was cast out into the desert? The terrible command to sacrifice his own heir? Hello, I'm your name, and today you're going to discover Abraham's complete journey, with all the ups and downs, the victories and defeats, the moments of unshakable faith, and the human failures that make him as real as any of us. If you want to understand the Bible in a deep and transformative way, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell. And tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? Our story begins in Ur the Chaldeans, one of the most prosperous cities in Mesopotamia. Abraham, still called Abram, lived a stable life with his wife Sarah, Sarai, and his nephew Lot. But there was a problem. Sarah was barren, in a culture where children were synonymous with blessing and continuity. This was devastating. It was in this context that God did something unprecedented in history. He called an ordinary man for an extraordinary mission. Leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. All peoples on earth will be blessed through you. Think about it. God was asking Abraham to leave everything, family, property, security, to go to a place he didn't even know where it was. And what did Abraham do? At 75 years old, without GPS, without a map, without guarantees, he simply obeyed. He took Sarah, Lot, all his possessions, and set out toward the unknown. When Abraham arrived in Canaan, God appeared again and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." Abraham built an altar, the first of many, marking that historic moment. But then came the first great test. A devastating famine struck the region. The promised land was without food. Abraham was forced to go down to Egypt. And here begins one of the most controversial parts of the story. Fearing for his own life, because Sarah was extremely beautiful, Abraham asked her to lie, saying she was his sister, not his wife. The result? Sarah ended up in Pharaoh's palace, and Abraham was rewarded with gifts and livestock. But God intervened with plagues on Pharaoh's house, revealing the truth. Furious, Pharaoh expelled Abraham from Egypt. First lesson: even men of faith make serious mistakes. Abraham lied, put his wife at risk, but God still protected him and fulfilled his promises. Abraham returned to Canaan even richer, but a new problem arose. His flocks and lots were so large that the land couldn't sustain them. The shepherds began fighting over space and resources. Abraham, being the elder and family leader, could have imposed his will, but he did something surprising. Let's not have any quarreling between us. Look at all this land before you. If you go to the left, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left. Lot chose the well-watered valley near Sodom, a decision that seemed smart, but would bring terrible consequences. Abraham stayed with the apparently less fertile land, but soon God made him an even greater promise. All that land would be his and his descendants forever. Lot got into big trouble. A war broke out between coalitions of kings, and he ended up captured along with his family. When Abraham found out, he didn't hesitate. He gathered 318 of his trained servants and set out for battle. With brilliant military strategy, a surprise night attack, he defeated entire armies and rescued Lot with everything that had been plundered. On the way back, something extraordinary happened. Abraham met Melchizedek, king of Salem and priest of God Most High. This mysterious man blessed Abraham, who gave him a tenth of everything. The king of Sodom offered riches, but Abraham refused, saying that his prosperity came only from God. After this victory, God appeared to Abraham in a vision. "Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your very great reward." But Abraham was distressed. "Sovereign Lord, what can you give me since I remain childless?" God took Abraham outside the tent and said, "Look up at the sky and count the stars. If indeed you can count them, so shall your offspring be." And the Bible records something revolutionary. Abram believed the Lord, and he credited it to him as righteousness. Thus was born the concept of saving faith. God sealed this promise with an impressive ritual: animals cut in half and a torch of fire passing between them, symbolizing that God himself guaranteed the fulfillment of the covenant. But the promise was delayed, and Sarah made a drastic decision. She offered her servant Hagar so that Abraham could have a son through her. Abraham agreed. Hagar became pregnant, but this brought jealousy, conflicts, and suffering to the entire family. When Abraham was 86 years old, Ishmael was born. It seemed that finally the promise had been fulfilled, but God had other plans. When Abraham was already 99 years old, God appeared again. I am God Almighty. Walk before me faithfully and be blameless. In this encounter, something unprecedented happened. God changed Abram's name to Abraham, father of many nations, and Sarai to Sarah, princess. The promise was now specific. Sarah, at 90 years old, would give birth to a son. Abraham laughed. How could a 100-year-old man father a child with a 90-year-old woman? But God confirmed, Sarah, your wife, will bear you a son, and you'll call him Isaac. Laughter. As proof of this eternal covenant, God instituted circumcision. On the same day, Abraham, Ishmael, and all the men of the household were circumcised. Shortly after, 3 mysterious men appeared at Abraham's tent. He received them with extraordinary hospitality. One of them declared, I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah your wife will have a son. Sarah, listening from a distance, laughed silently, but God confronted her. Why did Sarah laugh? Is anything too hard for the Lord? After the meal, the visitors revealed their true mission: to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah because of their very serious sins. Abraham took a surprising attitude. He began to intercede for the city. Will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked? What if there are 50 righteous people, 45, 40, 30, 20, 10? God agreed. If there were 10 righteous people, he would not destroy the city. But Abraham knew that not even that number existed there. The angels went down to Sodom, where Lot received them. But the men of the city surrounded the house, demanding the visitors for perverse practices. The angels blinded the wicked man and ordered Lot, Flee with your family. We are going to destroy this city. But Lot's sons-in-law mocked the warning. Only Lot, his wife, and 2 daughters were dragged out of the city. Fire and brimstone fell from heaven. Sodom and Gomorrah were completely destroyed. But Lot's wife, disobeying the order not to look back, was turned into a pillar of salt. Lot, traumatized, took refuge in a cave with his daughters. Desperate and thinking they were the last people on earth, they got their father drunk and had children with him, giving rise to the Moabite and Ammonite peoples, future enemies of Israel. Finally, at the time determined by God, Sarah became pregnant and gave birth to Isaac. Joy filled the camp. The boy was circumcised on the 8th day, according to the covenant. Now Abraham had the heir to the promise. But as Isaac grew, Ishmael began to mock him. Sarah couldn't stand the situation and demanded that Hagar and Ishmael be expelled. Abraham was devastated. Ishmael was also his son, but God intervened. Listen to whatever Sarah tells you. It is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. But don't worry about Ishmael. I will also make him into a great nation. Hagar and Ishmael wandered in the desert until the water ran out. When they seemed to be on the verge of death, God appeared, showed them a well of water, and confirmed that Ishmael would give rise to a great people. Ishmael grew up in the desert, became a skilled archer, and married an Egyptian. When Isaac was already grown, God made the most difficult request of Abraham's life. Take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering. Without questioning, Abraham got up early, prepared the wood, and set out with Isaac toward the designated mountain. During the 3-day journey, Isaac asked, Father, the fire and wood are here, but where's the lamb for the burnt offering? With unwavering faith, Abraham replied, God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. At the top of the mountain, Abraham built the altar, arranged the wood, and, with contained tears, bound Isaac. When he raised the knife to sacrifice his son, the angel of the Lord called out, Abraham, Abraham, do not lay a hand on the boy. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son. Abraham saw a ram caught by its horns in a thicket, and offered it in place of Isaac. He called that place the Lord will provide. This event wasn't just a test of faith. It was a prophecy of the future sacrifice of Jesus Christ, the true Lamb of God. Sarah died at 127 years old. Abraham bought the cave of Machpelah for 400 silver coins, his first legal property in Canaan, and buried her there, concerned about the future of the promise. He sent his servant to Mesopotamia to find a wife for Isaac among his relatives. Through a specific prayer and a miraculous answer, the servant found Rebekah. She agreed to come to Canaan and married Isaac, ensuring the continuity of the covenant. Abraham still took another wife, Keturah, and had more children, but he distributed gifts to them and sent them away, ensuring that Isaac was the sole heir to the promise. At 175 years old, Abraham died at a good old age, an old man and full of years. Isaac and Ishmael reconciled, buried him beside Sarah in the cave of Machpelah. Abraham's journey didn't end with his death. He became the father of faith for all generations. God fulfilled every promise. His descendants multiplied like the stars in the sky. They inherited the promised land through him. All nations were blessed, especially through Jesus Christ. Abraham teaches us that true faith acts even without seeing the complete path. God can use imperfect people for perfect plans. Patience is essential. Abraham waited 25 years for the Son of Promise. Radical obedience brings extraordinary blessings. And you? At what moment in your spiritual journey are you? Waiting for a promise to be fulfilled? Facing a great trial? At the beginning of a new calling without knowing what will happen? Remember, God always keeps what he promises. The question is, are you ready to trust even without seeing the whole path? If this story touched your heart in some way, tell me in the comments. How does Abraham's journey inspire you? Would you have the same faith he had? What part of the story impacted you the most? Let's talk in the comments. And if you want to continue learning about the great Bible stories and what they mean for us today, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, so you don't miss any videos. Share with someone who needs to hear this message. Leave your like if the content was helpful. We still have many transformative Bible stories to explore together. Hugs and stay with God. Espenhall.